Hello and welcome to SEOcharity webinar with Philip VanDusen. Today, we are going to talk about building your personal brand visibility with YouTube. And before we start, Anton, can you share with us about the project, please?
Yeah, I'm doing it every time, so I'm kind of confuse myself because repeating the same things is difficult. This is a SEO charity project. Alessia does SEO because she is an SEO, and I do charity part of it. Project is almost 4 years old. We have collected about $100,000. It's a staggering amount, but it's 4 years. And we support, right now, we can afford to support five shelters in Ukraine, two shelters in Kyiv, one in city of Alexandria, one in near Odessa, another one near Chernihiv. It's about 300 plus animals, mainly cat, but one particular one is only dogs. Those are family, put it this way, family style. So no cages. They live in a flat together with a family, actually. So could you imagine a one bedroom flat with a family and 30 cats? Yeah. Sometimes people asking why people, if they cannot afford to keep 30 cats, why do they have 30 cats? They all 100% rescue. They rescued because they are old and could not live on the street anymore. They rescued because they are ill and could not live anymore. Or they rescued because I have no words for. Some people just throw them out because they don't want them anymore. So all these animals rescued. If they won't be rescued, they probably would be dead by now. Okay, the project is we put SEO and we put charity things. If you wanna give us money, it's not for us, it's for those shelters. We don't have any overcost, it's only commission, Stripe commission. So even $5 will change thing. If you want to be our permanent donor, which is $10 a month. $10 is probably 2 cups of coffee. Depends on where you live. 2 cups of coffee. On the top of this, I will send you a T-shirt like this. I paid myself for this T-shirt for printing in Ukraine and for shipping, just as a token of appreciation. Okay, Alessia, Philip, it's all yours.
Yeah, just a few words about Philip, if you by some chance don't still know about him. Philip Anderson is branding consultant. He's serving SMBs and entrepreneurs, quite famous. And he's previously worked as VP of design at PepsiCo and Old Navy, executive creative director at Lander Associates. He's got a very good group if you want to know more about that and if you want to enhance what you know about your personal branding and about branding your business. So it's called Bonfire. Just a moment, I'll just put it on the screen and go find out more about it, become a member. So you'll be having lots of interesting stuff there. And today, Philip is going to share with us about what he knows about how to bring your personal brand visibility with YouTube. We all know how to do that with Google, hopefully. We've had a few webinars on that. However, we want to expand our knowledge, and YouTube has always been kind of tricky. You can put up a video which no one watches. So perhaps today we are going to uh, know how we can promote our asset charity with this new knowledge, so make some changes to us as well. So, Philip, passing the word to you.
Sure. Thank you, Lucia, and thank you, Anton. I really appreciate your having me, and I fully support what you're doing in Ukraine, and it's amazing work, and I fully support it. And so I'm going to be presenting to you today a presentation on how to grow your personal brand visibility on YouTube, and YouTube's an extremely powerful platform to leverage to do that. So we can just jump right into it. And then obviously we'll take some questions at the end if people have questions, or in the middle. I think Alessia is going to jump in if anyone wants further clarification on anything.
I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes all the time.
Okay, so here, let me see if my slide's going to work. All right, so if you don't know me, my name's Philip VanDusen. I've had 20 years in big corporate. I've had 10 years as a independent branding consultant, and I worked in the global agency world doing branding and brand identity, brand strategy for some of the biggest companies in the world. And so my career before I became an independent, this is the career part of this presentation is just to illustrate how invisible I was and how YouTube made me visible. And so before I had, when I was in big corporate, I had absolutely no social media, visibility at all. I had a 4-page website. I'd never posted content. I'd never posted videos or podcasts or blogs. I did have a somewhat impressive CV around my professional career. As Alessia said, I was a VP of design at PepsiCo and also Old Navy, and executive creative director at a couple of global agencies. And these are some of the clients that I've worked with. I've worked with a host of the Fortune 500. Now I work with small and medium-sized businesses. And so I was in that world for about 25 years. And when I was in my early 50s, I kind of hit a wall and I burned out. I burned out spectacularly, in fact. And I just hit a wall. I had some health issues with my family and needed to spend some concerted time with my parents. And I walked away, and I didn't really know whether I wanted to continue to branding or what I was going to be doing. But the thing that I found out about myself was that when it came to being an independent and having my own business, I needed to become visible. I needed to get clients. I needed people to be able to find me and to be able to come and ask me to, do work for them. And so, but I realized I was completely invisible. I had a fancy business card, fancy title, which carried a lot of weight. But now I didn't have those things. I was just me. I'd never posted content, as I said. I didn't have an email list, no social media, zero audience. And when it came down to it, I knew nothing about personal branding. And so now, fast forward to today, I've got a very successful YouTube channel with over 300,000 subscribers, 10 million views, 500 plus videos. I have a podcast that's in the top 5% of marketing podcasts in the world. YouTube had a hand in that as well. I run a mastermind community called Bonfire, as Alessia mentioned, and I'm a top voice on LinkedIn. I do brand sponsorships and all sorts of stuff like that. Most of this was made possible by my work on YouTube. And so personal branding, I want you to think about it this way, because this is where visibility fits into it, is that there's kind of 4 pillars of personal branding in my point of view. There's your credibility. That's what you know, what you've done, your history, and what you can bring to the table in terms of value. Then there's your visibility. So how do you become visible to people so they even know that you exist? The next step as you become visible is to deliver that value to your clients or whoever your customer avatar is, and delivering that value over time, which over time builds a level of authority for you in the market. And so today we're going to talk about 8 ways that you can grow your personal brand visibility with YouTube. And this is an extremely SEO related presentation because of the power of YouTube as an SEO vehicle. The first thing that you have to, pay attention to in terms of your personal brand visibility on YouTube is that you have to start. Most people don't ever even get this far. And if you can just start, you're ahead of 95% of the other people in your industry. YouTube and putting yourself on camera and putting yourself out there is scary. But the thing about it is that at the beginning, everybody sucks. And so I have this mantra, it's called Dare to Suck. And because when you start, you are, you're not the best YouTuber, right? You might have not the best camera, the best sound, you might be stumbling. And that's exactly what I was at the beginning. So I had bad lighting, out of focus. I was nervous. My lips were smacking all the time. I looked like death warmed over. I had cat hair on my shirt because I have a cat. And so you get the picture. It wasn't this picture of
Very,
professionalism.
very difficult to imagine looking at you today. Yeah, just two pictures. It's just a different guy. It's not you. Yeah, don't confuse us. No.
It's funny. So yes, so that's at the beginning. You have to just put yourself out there because you will improve. No one starts off as a professional person, perfectly polished YouTuber. And here's the good news. The good news is that at first, no one's watching. Meaning when you get out there on YouTube, you're playing to what I like to say, you're playing to an empty room. This is where most people give up because they're not getting the likes, the subscribers, the feedback, the comments that kind of buoy you, kind of give you that energy to continue. So you have to make a commitment to actually do it without receiving any kind of feedback. And if you can do that, it gives you the time, the first 10, 15, 20, 30 videos to work out the kinks, to get better, to feel more comfortable on camera. So the good news is that no one's watching at the beginning, but it gives you a chance to kind of get better. And after the first year, I made a commitment to do a video a week for 1 year before I would give up, before I would look at my comments, before I'd look at my subscriber count. And I said, I'm going to make this commitment to do a video a week for a year. And when I did that, within the first year, at the end of the first year, I was receiving 85% of my new clients directly from YouTube. And 10 years later, that's actually continued. So personal brand visibility, as we define it, is really starts when you start showing up, when you become visible. And you have to get over that hump on YouTube to be able to just start. The second way to build your personal brand visibility on YouTube is through SEO. This is kind of the focus of our topic today, but a very key part of it. So there's SEO, there's also AEO, or some people call it GEO, which is Ask Engine Optimization or Generative Engine Optimization. Those things build to PBVO, which is Personal Brand Visibility Optimization. You have to leverage SEO, AEO, and GEO today because it's not just Google search anymore. There's a lot of moving pieces in how you become visible. Discoverability, people being able to find your work on YouTube, is what leads to visibility and what leads to visibility in the wider spectrum of your business and in the world. And so the thing you have to remember about YouTube is owned by Google, and it is the world's second biggest search engine. Now, you could argue and say ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude is now because people are starting to use those engines like Google search. But when it comes down to it, the numbers are still supporting the fact that Google's number one and YouTube is number two. And it is, therefore, your best visibility opportunity next to Google search. And it's a lot harder to show up in Google search in the above the fold and on the first page of results than it used to be. And so Google, the good thing is that Google will prioritize YouTube videos as results in search queries. And YouTube videos also will boost your Google search results. So having YouTube content, which is being aggregated by the search engines of the world, will boost your regular Google search results, not just the videos that you're posting. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Those two engines are very symbiotic. Here's the slide that is really, really important to look at. And this is a study that just was done by SEMrush. And I know that Anton used to work for SEMrush, but SEMrush did a study that cited the key domains that are cited by LLMs when people do searches. And YouTube is number 5. LinkedIn, if you utilize LinkedIn with your YouTube videos, can also boost that even higher. And so thinking about how you can show up on LLM searches and citations is another part of that discoverability that will lead to visibility. So YouTube's a very, very powerful platform, even in these new kind of search platforms that are starting to emerge with AI.
May I ask quickly, because of the previous slides, you tell about YouTube and LinkedIn there. We have the option here to make the stream on both platforms at once. Do you suggest it is a good idea, or should we stick to YouTube only and share YouTube video on LinkedIn instead?
Yeah, when I live stream, I go live on LinkedIn and on YouTube. The challenge, depending on the streaming service that you use, is your ability to read the chat and the comments on LinkedIn and YouTube. When I go live, I use Ecamm Live, so I can actually only see the chat and the comments that are coming from YouTube. So, and I make that very apparent to people who are watching on LinkedIn. The volume of people that you'll get watching a live stream generally is a lot higher on YouTube than it is on LinkedIn. So I do to both, and I suggest that people do to both, or stream to both. But when I was talking about how to leverage LinkedIn with video, you can post your YouTube videos on LinkedIn, which is driving people off the LinkedIn platform onto YouTube. But if you have videos that are under 10 minutes, because LinkedIn has a 10-minute limit on uploading native video. If your YouTube videos are under 10 minutes, you can upload them natively, to LinkedIn. And then maybe in the first comment or in the description of the post, you can drive people to your YouTube channel.
Oh, cool. Thank you so much.
Yep. So this is, I had someone who joined my community, and I asked him where he discovered me. Because whenever I talk to new clients, I always say, hey, where'd you find me? Usually, as I said, 85% of the time, it's YouTube. But this guy said, and this was about 1.5 years ago, he said, I found you on ChatGPT. This was the first time that this had happened to me. So I said, hey, what'd you ask ChatGPT that I came up on? And so what he had asked was, how do you increase brand visibility for a company or a small business if you're not a market leader? And so I had posted a video on 10 ways to increase brand visibility when you're not a market leader on YouTube. That was the title of the video. And so when he asked that question, it returned to him one result. This is an important fact because LLMs will return 1 or 2 results for a search query. And so when you ask Google something, it will return pages and pages and videos and videos. You're competing with all sorts of stuff on a Google search return. But on ChatGPT, this guy asked, what's the one best video? And it served up mine. But if you ask these questions of LLMs, a lot of times they will give you 1 or 2 answers. And so your field of people you're competing with, if you can work to show up on LLM search, is a lot better than trying to crack the whole Google nut. But the point that I'm trying to make with this particular slide is that how you title your content on YouTube is very important. LLMs will look for something that exactly addresses the question that they're being asked. And if you think about how people are asking questions, maybe go on Answer the Public or one of those sites and see how people are phrasing how they're answering questions, asking questions, you can title your YouTube videos right around that very, very directly. And your chances of showing up in LLM search will rise because of that. So
may I once again ask, sorry,
yeah,
is
please.
it better to make a title like a question or like an answer to the question? What's the better strategy?
It's a lot. Well, we're going to get into titling YouTube videos a little later in the
Okay.
presentation and how you can kind of juice SEO around that. But a lot of titles on YouTube are posed as a question. It's like, how to do this. It's not really a question, but it's like, 10 ways to XYZ. Some people post videos in a question format, so it actually completely matches the question that people are typing into YouTube in the search bar. But if you phrase it like what the answer to that question would be, it will serve you up just as well.
Okay.
So this is another key point about the power of YouTube when it comes to brand visibility. You can buy advertising and it goes out there, it runs, you pay for it, it goes away. right? You can do content marketing. And depending on the stream service that you use, that content can last a short period of time or a longer period of time. The lifetime of a tweet is about 10 minutes. The lifetime of a thread is about 15 minutes. The lifetime of a Facebook post on average is about 3 days. The lifetime of a LinkedIn post on average is about 10 days. The lifetime of a YouTube video can be years. It can be decades that this will return you results on that content that you posted. And I'll show you a perfect example of this. In 2022, I did a search for a creative director. And when you search for something on YouTube, it will generally serve up 3 to 4 videos that are on YouTube and give you a little thumbnail. And so I had done a number of videos on being a creative director. One of them proved to be somewhat successful and got a couple 100,000 views. And it said, you know, what does a creative director do? That's not actually even one of these results. But so when you search creative director, I had a video that came up. There was a 1-year-old video. And the second of those 3 results was a 5-year-old video. Think about this. This is content I posted 5 years ago. And Google in 2022 returned it on page 1 as one of the 3 videos to look at. That's mind-blowing because of the age of that content returning SEO results. Here's another example. If you did a Google image search for the word creative director, the thumbnail of my YouTube video was the #1 result, followed by about 50 black and white photos of super famous creative directors. But my video thumbnail was ranking #1 in Google image search, and it was a 3-year-old video. Another example of this. So in 2026, if you did a Google image search for a creative director, it's not the top results, a little farther down the page now, but in this thumbnail of this popular video shows up. It's a 9-year-old video, and it shows up within the first couple scrolls of Google search. That shows the power of the marriage between YouTube and Google. The third powerful way is to own your own niche. And this is, how do you find your own home, your own space on YouTube? And I like to think of it, people say, you know, what do I do videos about? If you think about developing what I call content buckets. So what do you do best? What's your industry niche? Who do you serve? Who's your customer avatar? What are the problems that they have? And how do they ask the questions about those problems? And what's your solution to those problems? And my content buckets are brand design, entrepreneurship, creative careers, personal branding, things like that. And when I come up with ideas for videos, I generally think in these terms of these buckets. So where is this video going to fit into one of these buckets? And what is the problem that someone is having that this video is going to solve for them? And so when you think about your own content on YouTube, define like 5 or 6 buckets, and then write down 10 problems for each of those theme buckets. And that's your first video. If you post once a week, that's your first year of content. So if you break it down that way in a kind of a systematic way, it's a great way to kind of center your focus around what your niche is and center your content and start to generate ideas for videos. Here's a YouTube power tip. And this will make it even easier for you. Find 3 YouTubers who are in the niche that you want to be in, who are doing well. Go to their channel page and sort their videos by popular. It'll put the top most viewed videos that they have at the top of the screen. Write down the titles of those top 5 videos and then do your take on it, your perspective. Pablo Picasso has a great quote that said, you know, mediocre artists copy and great artists steal. There's no shame in putting out there your own content that's your take, your personality, your idea of what this popular video was that someone else is doing. So you're not copying them, but you're patterning your work after what has proved to be successful on YouTube. The fourth way is visual branding really matters. And this is important when it comes down to your visibility, when people are scrolling with their thumb on YouTube looking for videos or looking online. What your thumbnails look like and what your channel looks like matters. So on your channel page, you have a banner at the top. And that banner has to do a lot of work. So when people come to your channel, they want information. Who are you? What do you offer? How often do you post? How can I get in touch with this person? And so putting some work into some thought into your channel banner matters. You're also establishing with that and with your thumbnails, your brand design. So that's the fonts you use, the colors you use, the type of photography you use, the layout, basic layout style that you use. You want to be very planful and very consistent around what you do with those things. And so think about it before you start, because once you start, you really, really, really want to be consistent with it. And these are 3 examples of some channel banners from other people who I've made anonymous because I don't want to ding them online, but their banners are not doing them any favors. They're absolutely generic and they don't do any work for them. And so here's some banners of some other people who are colleagues of mine on YouTube. Roberto Blake, good friend, Jesse Showalter. They're very popular YouTubers, and their banners do a lot of work for them. It showcases clickable social channels. It says how long they post, how soon they post, what their posts are about. Sometimes it gives you a URL for a free download. It establishes credibility. So Roberto Blake in the top banner has Forbes, an entrepreneur, and Black Enterprise. There's a lot of information that you're getting to start to establish an understanding of who this channel is. So your channel art should have your name and your company logo, or your name and your picture, the channel focus or your channel's mission, URLs, calls to action, social links, and establishing those brand aesthetics. And then other nice to haves might be things like posting schedule or tagline. Are there any downloads or lead magnets, your website, your credentials, any kind of app icons, et cetera. So you want to put some thought into your channel art. What's my preferred platform for generating the thumbnails and show banners? I actually am I'm a graphic designer by trade, so I don't use things like, thumbnail generators. I just use Photoshop and design my own thumbnails. And now my team does it for me. I've done it for, 5 years, and I show them the design focus of it. And then I kind of hand that off to them. But it's very, very easy to design thumbnails right within YouTube. Actually, there's all sorts of templates that can make it very easy and simple. Another very easy kind of template driven and AI assisted platform is Canva. So if you have assets, photo of yourself, and either Canva or YouTube, you can design really killer thumbnails. Also, in the developing world, there are hundreds of thousands of people who make their living designing thumbnails, because I get pitched by about 5 or 10 of them every day. And so there's some people who are very talented with thumbnails that you can hire for extremely reasonable fees to design your thumbnails for you. So I'm sorry, I changed the slide too quickly. So the thing you want to remember is that your thumbnail stops the scroll. Your title is what's going to get that click and have you show up in SEO, and your video is going to keep the promise to your viewer. You have to think about your thumbnails in the fact that people will only be seeing them in about a 1/2 inch by 3/4 of an inch, because that's how they show up on mobile. And more than half of YouTube search and YouTube viewing happens on mobile devices. So we live in a thumb scrolling world, and people are flipping through videos very quickly. So when they come across your thumbnail, if they've come across it once or twice, you want it to be as consistent as possible, because you want them to immediately recognize that it's you. And unless you're consistent with your colors, your fonts, your thumbnail layout, if they've seen a video of yours, they're going to put two and two together in their head, and they're going to say, oh, that's Philip's channel. I want to watch this video. But they wouldn't do that if my thumbnails were all over the map. And I'm going to show you some really great examples of that. You want to think of it in kind of terms of 3 R's: recognize, remember, revere. So people have to recognize your thumbnail. They have to recognize the video is from you. And then if you're consistent, they will remember what you look like, and they will be more apt to click on your videos And then over time, you're delivering great value to them. So they're going to revere you, right? They're going to fall in love with you. They're going to subscribe to your channel, maybe reach out to you for business. Thumbnail must-haves are, you want to make sure you have color is the most quickly and recognizable and deeply memorable aspect of branding. Think about your brand color. And once you establish it, be very consistent with it. And think about what that effect of color means to your brand. I can't get into that. That's like an entirely different live stream. But be consistent with your fonts, with your layout, a photo of you. People connect with humans, particularly now in the age of AI. A human face is even more important on YouTube videos. And again, make it super simple because you want it to be legible at very small scale. And so a suggestion I make to people when they're designing thumbnails is they say, zoom out on it till it's only about a 1/2 inch by 3/4 of an inch and let me know whether you can read everything on it. So here's some examples of thumbnails. First, I'll show you some that are not so great. This is a channel that had a huge assortment of videos, but the thumbnails are all over the map. If one of these thumbnails had come across my feed and I loved this channel and subscribed to this channel, I would never be able to tell that it was from this particular channel because there's no consistency. Again, same thing. It was funny. I've had this slide in presentations for a couple of years when I was teaching YouTube thumbnails. And I just realized like a week ago that this channel is about watches. Like I never even put it together that I wasn't even looking at it that closely to know that there was a watch in all of these thumbnails. So it wasn't doing its job very effectively in terms of communicating information. William Patterson, great designer, awesome guy. He's a graphic designer and he doesn't have a super consistent color palette, but he uses these bright greens, bright fuchsias, bright yellows, but his layout design style is extremely consistent. And he always puts a photo of himself in it. And he always uses, these kind of big, bold squares, rectangles of color with text inside. So when you look at this family of thumbnails, you can see that there's consistency within it. Now, this is a slightly different design aesthetic. Amy Landino, she has a lifestyle channel and she always has a photo of herself in her studio, and she dresses very stylishly because she's doing lifestyle videos. She has no text on her thumbnails, but there's such consistency around her thumbnails that if you liked her channel and she came across your YouTube feed as you were scrolling, you'd immediately know that this was Amy's video.
Can I ask a question? If you can come back to this slide. Yeah, I absolutely agree with consistency, but for me, it's a little bit too much of a consistency, which means especially if you look like this thumbnails, like six in the middle, if you see them, they probably would look, if you can't really read anything, it would look the same, which means I would recognize the person. I would say, oh, she's great. I say, I already saw this video, which I might not, but they're so close, and especially they're very small. They're on the side of your screen and everything. The previous guy, he was putting this big writing. So yeah, I see the same guy, but I see that the writing is different. So I say, oh, this one I haven't seen. But with this girl, I might say I already saw it, and I'll just go further.
I think in this case, Anton, people are just, the point of the thumbnail is to recognize it's Amy. And then you're going to read the title of the video and you're going to know whether you've seen it or not. The thing about YouTube thumbnails is that you'll notice that very rarely do people have the entire title of the video in the thumbnail. They will have something related to it, which is an attention stopper. But then people will read the video title to know what it's about. And so in her particular case, I would say, yes, it's kind of pushing it in the opposite direction in the fact that she's just heavily relying on the fact that people are recognizing it's her and reading the title of the video. I have a tendency to put a lot more information in my thumbnails, but I have extremely consistent layout, fonts, design, always a picture of me. And here's the thing I want to say about YouTube pictures of yourself is like, it's like the classic YouTube picture. It's like with the mouth open and surprising and pointing and all that sort of stuff. And it's so cheesy and it's so stupid. But the fact is, it works. And sometimes you just have to let go of the ego and do what works on the platform. And so my initial thumbnails were like so boring. And then as I kind of got more and more into it and started looking at my competition, I was like, oh, maybe I should do something that looks a little more alive. So anyway, SEO driven decisions. I'm going to get into some super SEO related aspects of YouTube now. And it's a little geeky, but I know that we have SEO people in the audience. I'm going to be talking about how you use a Chrome plugin called TubeBuddy. And shameless plug, I am a TubeBuddy affiliate, but no, TubeBuddy isn't paying me today to like advertise for them. But if you do sign up for TubeBuddy, I'd be happy as can be if you used my affiliate link. I get like pennies on it, but it's an amazing plugin. And a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is when you're posting YouTube videos is made possible by what TubeBuddy does. If you didn't have it, you wouldn't be able to do some of the things that I'm going to be showing you. So when you have this TubeBuddy plugin installed, if you go to one of your competitors' channels, someone who you want to be when you grow up on YouTube, right? You go to a competitor's channel and you get this little box that says Channelytics. And within that, you get information that is completely invisible to you unless you have TubeBuddy. It shows you how many videos they post over a lifetime, how many views they've gotten, how your channel relates to their channel in terms of views. But then the other important part is keywords. And at the very bottom, it has the keywords that they have injected into their channel, which are the main search engine hashtags, essentially, that YouTube uses to define what your channel is. And if you are chasing one of your competitors or a series of competitors, being able to see the keywords that they're using for their channels is really helpful because you can cheat and you can use some of those keywords for your own. And there's even a little button on the right-hand side where you can actually copy the keywords and you can paste it right into a text document. But you would not be able to see these channel keywords if the plugin is not installed. So doing some competitor research is also important in terms of SEO because you want to follow people who have already been successful in this world. Another one is the SEO kind of gauge around titles. So when you're thinking about doing a video, go to YouTube search and type in what you're thinking of the title might be. So I typed in how to build a personal brand for designers. And so what TubeBuddy does is it gives you a rating over on the right-hand side with a lot of incredible information. One, it will rate the title that you've put in there in terms of whether it's got good search volume, meaning people are looking for it, how much competition you have on this video, and then it will give it a rating on 1 to 100, whether it's an excellent title to have or maybe not so great. It will also give you related searches. So related phrases that people are using when they search for things like the title that you just put in. That's super helpful. And then it also gives you a whole list of the common video tags that are used when people post videos of this kind. And again, at the very bottom right of this image, you can click copy and it will copy all of those keywords. And you can just plug them into a text document and use it when you're posting your own video. The thing you want to remember about titles is that you can make the most minute changes to a title and it will drastically change the SEO capability of your video. For instance, if I had said how to build a personal brand for designers, and then I did one that said how to build a personal brand for graphic designers, right? That's a little more specific. It would change the SEO rating. If I said how to build a personal brand, I might have massive competition in that. But my video might not rank so high because of it. But you can play around with phrasing, with words, etc. The other cool thing about this is that when you type that title in there, it's going to give you search results for other videos that, relate to that title. Scroll down through those videos and sometimes you can get ideas of like what other people are entitling their videos that are within that idea or that theme or that question. When you're posting videos, you have to add tags to it. There's a lot of metadata that you add when you're posting a video. TubeBuddy also helps you with that. It will actually rank the tags that you decide to add to your video on how popular they are. You can also, there's also a number of tag tools at the bottom. There's something called Keyword Explorer that if you click on that, it'll give you another window, which I didn't show you, but essentially you can say personal branding, and it will give you a whole ton of keywords that people use in videos on personal branding, and it will give you ratings for them. And you can add the ones that are most popular if it makes sense for your video. So it's, again, another tool that instead of having to sit there and go, oh, what keywords would I use for a video on personal branding? And you come up with like 5 or 8 of them, and then you draw a blank and you're like, what am I going to do? And so TubeBuddy can actually give you a whole lot of information on popular tags. And that information, the tags in the metadata of your video, is something that YouTube draws heavily off of in order to serve your video up in search. Another thing TubeBuddy does, which is great, is you can do A/B testing. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but essentially you can upload 2 or 3 thumbnails and A/B test them. And what YouTube will do, it will show your video to people, and depending on which thumbnail gets the most clicks, it will make that thumbnail the final thumbnail for your video. So if you have various ideas of like what kind of thumbnail might be popular for your video, you can upload all 3 of them, do an A/B test, and then whatever one is the one that gets to be on your video. And over time, you can learn what's the most effective way for you to design a thumbnail. Another thing within TubeBuddy is something called SEO Studio. And the description for your video, there's your title of your video, and then there's the description of your video. Within the description of your video, that information is also leveraged very heavily by YouTube SEO. And so there are certain best practices in how you title and how you describe your video. For instance, you want to include the target keyword that's in your video title within the first sentence of your description. And then you want to include 80% of your target keyword within the title in the description as well. And there's a whole bunch of things that it will rate you on, and you can make adjustments to how you are, what you're typing into your title, so it's the most effective in terms of SEO. So that's just a little bit of what TubeBuddy does. It's like amazingly effective, and it's much deeper than that. But the point exists is that and TubeBuddy is not also the only plugin like that out there. There's one called vidIQ, which is also very popular. I happen to use TubeBuddy, so that's the one I know about. But I know that vidIQ does a lot of the similar things. But if you want to become visible on YouTube, I would highly recommend that you use one of those YouTube Chrome plugins to give you the sorts of functionality that you need to post your videos in the most effective way in terms of SEO. So you want to make yourself feel visible. This is a little bit more of a soft skill when it comes to SEO. But one of the things that you have to remember is that YouTube rewards engagement. It's not just a projection platform. It's not just videos going to the viewer. They style themselves as being a community, and they like conversation. They like comments. They like the person posting the video to engage in the comments. They want it to feel like an interactive experience. So you have to think of your comments on your videos as currency, meaning you want to engage with your viewers. And so I replied to the first 10,000 comments that I got on my videos. Every single one. If someone said, hey, great video, I replied to them personally. And the fact that I was doing that freaked people out. They were so shocked that they're like, oh my God, you like answering my question, because they're so used to putting questions on videos and they get completely ignored. But so if you take the effort to engage, especially within the first 48 to 72 hours of posting your video, YouTube will see that, and they will elevate your video in search. If they see that there is early engagement on your video and that you, as the poster of the video, are engaging with your audience, they will elevate you in YouTube search. So engaging with your audience is one of those things that you can't ignore as it comes to visibility and boosting the SEO of your videos on YouTube. Early engagement tells that algorithm to promote your video more highly.
How about very toxic or even hateful comments? Sometimes people are quite nasty.
Yes, they are. And that's the sad thing about the anonymity of YouTube, is that every 10-year-old with a phone can make some sort of snarky comment on your video. And I remember now 8 years later, I remember some of the first flame comments that I got. They're incredibly hurtful. And it's one of those things that you really have to just develop a little bit of a thick skin around. And you also have to remember that you don't know what kind of a day the person was having who wrote that. And if you're going to respond, if you don't just delete the comment, which you're perfectly free to do, you can just delete any comment that comes in on one of your videos and it won't show up. Or if you choose to respond, always take the high road. So one of the cool functionality things of TubeBuddy is that it allows you to type. If you find yourself typing the same comment over and over and over again, you can actually save them as templates. So you can have like 10, 15 templates of comments that you can just choose and it will comment that. So it's basically like they're canned comments. And so I wrote like 3 or 4 canned comments for hater comments. So when I received a hater comment, I always took the high road. Thank you very much for watching the video. I appreciate your taking the time to comment. I'm sorry that you didn't receive the value that I was trying to deliver. And, 3 or 4 different ways of saying that. High road, no comment, no engagement, no one wins a flame war, as we all know, right? The funny thing is I've done that a number of times and I've had people respond back to me who were the people who commented. And one of them said, I really feel bad about having led that comment. Thank you very much for your note. I was having a really terrible day. And so you never know what people are going through in life, and you can't take it personally. On the flip side of that, the other thing about YouTube, and I'm going to get to this in a second, is you never know who people are, in the fact that you don't know whether you're conversing in a comment with a 10-year-old with a phone or a 70-year-old who just got off AOL, right? And so, for instance, on that creative director video that I did, very popular video, I got a comment on it that said, I'd really like to be able to become a creative director. What kind of school should I go to in order to do this? And I gave them a thoughtful answer about, maybe what school to kind of focus on. And they commented back to me and they said, well, I'm only 13, so it's going to be a while before I get to college. And I was like, it was such a well thought out and well articulated question. I was like, oh my God, I'm talking to a 13-year-old. So you never know who you're talking to.
Yeah, my daughter, when she was 10, she's almost 20 now. When she was 10, she wrote a comment to someone, burn in hell. And she can't remember who was that, what was all about, but she still kind of feel not comfortable in this comment. Yeah,
I know. they stick with you forever. But it comes with the territory. I think that if you put out an opinion on anything online, you're opening yourself up to the bathroom wall comments that are going to happen, and it just comes with the territory. A couple of power tips around engagement with your audience is one of the things in your video, ask for comments. Say, hey, tell me about your experience in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. Or you can create a question in the comments, write a question as a comment in your own video, and then pin it to the top. So when people are going to comment, the first one they see is like, hey, tell me about your experience, or what did you think of blah, blah, blah. So actively try to start conversations with your viewers. Your videos are visibility fuel. This goes beyond YouTube to a certain extent, but the one thing I wanted to point out is that video is the best content format to start with. So if you have long form video, you can do more with that than any other form of content in the world. Why? That's because you can repurpose YouTube videos as any number of things. You can do live streams from the content. You can You can download that video or have that video, obviously. You can transcribe it. You can turn it into social media posts, or you can turn it into articles or ebooks or newsletters. You can take the video from it. You can move it into short form and do Instagram Reels, or you can do YouTube Shorts. You can rip the audio from your YouTube videos and turn that into a podcast or an audiogram or audio snippets that you have on social media. So you can take YouTube video and chop it up and take the assets from it and repurpose it in so many different ways that it's the most, if you're going to spend the energy and the intellectual time that it takes to produce content that you can use in other places. And video is one of the most repurposable forms of content, which is another argument to kind of like put your energy into YouTube. And finally, this is important when it comes to business and when it comes to SEO. YouTube makes it impossible for you to know who you're talking to, as we were just mentioning, right? You could be talking to a 10-year-old on the phone, but there's no way you can contact them. You can't DM them on YouTube. They don't make it possible for you to know or communicate with who your audience is. They're invisible. Essentially, subscribers are vanity metrics because there's no way to really have an engagement unless it's in the comments of a video. So your goal as a YouTuber is to drive people off of YouTube and to get them onto your email list. You have to have an email list, or you can even ask them to write you an email if you want to give out your email address or an email address. But you want to drive them off YouTube so where you can communicate with them directly and hopefully get their email address. So one of the ways to do this in your videos is there are things called cards. And cards are those little things that pop up in the upper right-hand corner that says, get my newsletter, go to my website, get my free ebook, and it will pop up in different parts of the video. You can have up to 5 of those in a video, and they could either lead to a website, they can lead to a download. And so using cards, so you are driving people off of YouTube to your website or to a lead magnet or whatever, that another social channel, whatever that is, where you can get their email address and communicate with them directly, is one of the goals you should have in your work on YouTube. And that will lead to new business because you'll be able to actually communicate with them and pitch them or lead them through email sequences or sell courses or coaching sessions or whatever that is, or pitch your business. Again, using in-video CTAs, so visit my website, get my free ebook, et cetera, those sorts of verbal in-video CTAs. And you can time your card. You can, when you're laying out your cards, you can say, hey, if you're interested in this, you should definitely sign up for my newsletter. The link is right here. And then you can have that card pop up and people go, oh, boom. And it's like, tell them what to do. They do it. Make it easy for them and frictionless for them to get onto your email list as easily as possible so you can know who they are. And so we'll do a quick review. You want to start. Can't get benefits from any of this unless you start, which is why I made it number 1. There's AEO, there's SEO, and that leads to personal brand visibility. You want to make sure that you're owning your niche. So be very clear about where you're diving into the pool, right? And visual branding definitely matters. Being recognized, remembered, and revered. SEO-driven decisions. Plugins like TubeBuddy or vidIQ really help with this. Your metadata within your videos is incredibly crucial to your being visible on YouTube and then showing up on LLM search or Google search or whatever that is. You want to engage with your viewers. You want to repurpose your content so it's outside of YouTube. And then you want to ultimately move your viewers, once you start gathering them, off of YouTube and onto your email list so they can become, true targets of your business. And with that, that's it. I'm done. Oh, wait, this is a free giveaway. It's an in-video call to action. So personal branding like this and the visibility and personal branding can be really complex. So I developed a tool called the Personal Brand Wheel. It's a framework and it has some prompt questions that lead you through how to use the tool, but it helps you kind of visualize the moving parts of building a personal brand. And part of that is content and part of that is visibility. So I wanted to offer it up to anyone watching. You can go to philipvandusen.com/PBW for Personal Brand Wheel and download this tool. It's free. Yes, I get your email address, but hey, that's how the world works, right? So, and I don't spam. I send out like 1 or 2 emails a week. I'm not going to like drive you crazy. And you can unsubscribe at any time. Obviously, you can get the tool, get my first email, unsubscribe. That's what you want to do. But I'd love you to stay and become a friend. So that's it. These are all my socials. So I'm Philip VanDusen just about everywhere. And that's all I got.
Thank you so much, Philip. It was amazing. I was wondering all this time, what's your most inspiring YouTube channel that you like really love going to?
That
And
is a really funny question. And the reason is, and this sounds, when I say this, it sounds so conceited, but it's not. I don't really consume a lot of content. I spend more of my time developing content to share with people, and I do very little consumption of it. I do listen to a lot of, podcasts and things of that nature. But the YouTube channels that I go to have to do with my creative pursuits. So I'm a musician, as you can see, guitars on the wall and things like that. I do, my favorite channel is a channel called Music Tech Help Guy. That's just YouTube, the Music Tech Help Guy. And he specializes in doing videos on Logic. So Apple's Logic, which is recording software, and super knowledgeable. I like his vibe. And that's the channel I go to the most. Just one of the things about that is that you may go, when you're thinking about doing YouTube, you may go, there's 5 other people who do exactly what I want to do, right, on YouTube. And they're already successful and they already have 1 million videos. And why should I start? And blah, 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 all the excuses. Here's the thing you have to remember. There are, perfect example, like there's 50 bands and, 100,000 bands in the world, but you like the vibe and the sound of this one band. They click with you. They make you feel like special. And so you listen to that band. Just like you had if you think back to school, think back to high school, you had that one favorite teacher who really did it for you, right? Had a lot of personality or energy, or somehow they got through that stupid teenage brain of yours and made an impression on you as being someone who you remembered through your whole life, right? I had this history teacher who taught Greek history of all things, but he had such energy and such passion. And he was so funny that I will remember Mr. Walker for the rest of my life. And he's probably long gone, but it was Mr. Walker's vibe that I clicked with. And so there may be 50, teachers you've had in your life, but there was one that you clicked with. It's the same thing on YouTube. There may be 10 people who are talking about personal branding and creative careers and all that sort of stuff on YouTube, but there's some people who just like my vibe. They like my voice. They like my glasses. They like how I think. And so they subscribe to my channel rather than watching these 5 other people's channels. So think about yourself as a human. What do you bring to the table? Why are you unique? Why are you different? Celebrate that and just know that some people will find your tribe.
yeah, that's true. What do you think about very popular, like extreme popular YouTubers like Mr. Beast or The Diary of a CEO? I forgot his name suddenly, but anyway, everyone knows them. And
I've never watched them.
You
I've
haven't
never
watched?
watched a single Mr. Beast video.
But maybe you have read there were leaks of his what he suggests to do to promote YouTube video to build them really well. Did they
Yeah,
too?
I pay attention to people who are more in my field. There's a guy named Pat Flynn who actually was a very popular guy. He has an extremely successful Pokemon channel now, of all things. But he did stuff on personal branding and email marketing and things like that. And he was actually one of the first digital entrepreneurs that I discovered when I went independent a decade ago. And he's always been kind of an influence on me. And I've kind of watched what he's done. A number of my peers have actually worked for him and with him. So I kind of know him by proxy. And so I'll watch what comes out of his channel and how he's promoting his stuff and what he's done, where he shows up, how he repurposes his videos. And so I get inspired by other people who are in my space who are doing things that, give me ideas.
Yeah, okay. What do you do in this mastermind group, Bonfire?
Sure. You want to take the slide off, or do we want to keep
Yeah,
that up?
of course. We can.
So Bonfire is a mastermind group. A lot of people don't know what mastermind groups are, but essentially what they are is a group of peers who gather together either in real life or on Zoom, and they act as a supportive community for each other. So generally what happens is people, there are a number of formats for mastermind groups, but mine is one where you have a hot seat. So my masterminds are an hour and a half long. We come in, we do a section called Quick Wins, where everyone will basically share what they kind of had accomplished for that week. And then we have hot seats, and people have a half an hour to pose a question to the group or ask for feedback on something, or tell the group a problem that they're having that they want feedback on, or to present something they know and they're an expert on to the group. And they have a half hour to do that. They may say, I'm working on my website and I'm having trouble with the copy on my homepage. And so they'll show the website, they'll walk through the copy, and then they'll ask the group for feedback. And we go around the room and everyone will give that person feedback. And in a mastermind group of creative professionals who are all accomplished people, this is incredibly helpful because creative professionals can't do anything. They can do tons of amazing things for other people's brands, but when it comes to designing their own website or writing their own copy, they're like, I can't figure this out. Like, it's really hard because you don't have any perspective on yourself. It's very difficult to do things like this if you don't have any distance from it. That's why we can do it for clients. There's distance. But when you're writing your own copy or looking at your own website, you don't know what you're doing. And so being able to go into a room and immediately have 10 other creative professionals who are accomplished people give you very insightful feedback and perspective on what you're doing on your website build is incredibly helpful. Like, you can't get that anywhere else. And so it comes to, career pivots or moves or how you're working in your workplace and trying to get promoted. It may be work that you're doing for clients. It may be some problem you're having promoting your work on social media. There's a myriad problems that people have, and they bring them to the mastermind group and we share them with the group. And then we help each other with each other's problems or issues. And the interesting thing about this, Alessia, is that I've heard this so many times from the members of Bonfires that people think, oh, well, I'm not going to have a hot seat for I'll have one once every 3 months, right? What's the point in doing that? The thing is that people constantly are telling me I get so much more benefit out of other people's hot seats than I do my own. And that's because they're looking at what someone else is doing in their business, and they're getting ideas, and they're being able to see it from perspective. And while someone else is having their hot seat, they're going, wow, I never thought about doing a lead magnet to build my email list, or I never thought about that sort of a checklist. And I could do this kind of checklist and you're being exposed to ideas that you never even thought of or considered for something to do in your own business. And you're being inspired, and you're also immediately know someone who is doing that and is in that process, and that you can work with and pick their brain about it and stuff like that. It's incredibly inspiring. When I started my journey as a solopreneur coming out of big corporate, I joined a paid mastermind community, and I participated in that community and shared what I knew about branding and design. And I was experiencing people who were becoming professional speakers, who were writing books, who were developing email lists and writing newsletters and doing YouTube channels and getting paid for sponsorships for YouTube channels, which I didn't even know existed back then, a decade ago. And now I'm getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in sponsorships for my YouTube channel. And so it exposes you to things that you never even knew about or thought were possible for you. Or a podcast. Like, I never thought in a million years I'd have a podcast. And then I was exposed to someone who had a podcast. He was making all these wonderful connections, like knowing you, Alessia, and Anton, in appearing on this podcast. When you are interviewing people, you develop relationships, and your meaningful network is expanding and expanding and expanding. And that's where work comes from. That's where clients come from. That's where business comes from. It comes from people you know and people who trust you. And masterminds are one of those vehicles that is like, as soon as you join one, you have a meaningful network of like 10 or 15 or 20 people literally overnight who have nothing in their mind but how to help you with your business. It's magical. It like transformed my entire professional career, which is why I'm so passionate about them.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. I must have some minute to see it or try it. Anyway, we yeah.
Yeah, we should.
And
We
You have
should.
their URL.
just a moment. We'll show that URL once
Yeah,
again.
that's all right. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Oh no, it's not. It's not that.
It's
Sorry.
philipvandusen.com Bonfire.
Yeah, this one.
Pretty easy.
This one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we need to wrap up a bit. No more questions.
No more questions.
So thank you so much for watching. I hope you loved it. I loved it amazingly. So thank you so much, Philip. If you want to donate, you can do this right here. If you don't want to donate, you may want to share with someone who might want to donate. So please do anything. Comment. We'll answer every comment under this video.
There
please.
you go. Someone's been listening.
Let's start doing that. And once again, thank you for watching and participating. See you next time. And also subscribe to get notified about our conference. The date is in March 25th. So see you anytime soon.